Welcome, everyone. I'm Pat McCarthy. I am a Vice President for Agentic Workplace Transformation, and I'm very pleased to be joined by Luke Camry, Director of Product Management for Google Workspace. Today's session is going to give you a private preview of our roadmap for organizations that rely on both Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace. The friction between these platforms can lead to significant inefficiencies and costs. So over the next 30 minutes, Luke is going to give you a glimpse into our product roadmap, which is designed to directly address these pain points. After this, we'll open it up for 25 minutes of Q&A, and we'll do our best during that session to answer everything live in the session, but also note, we'll be hosting a breakout session specific to this topic at Google Next in April. And if you're joining us at Next, I'd encourage you to attend that session and continue the conversation with our product experts and your peers. Please note that this presentation is designed for a small exclusive group and is delivered under NDA. This is considered a private preview, so don't share this information beyond this forum. Before I pass it to Luke, I'll spend a few minutes on the key highlights I hope you'll take away from today. We'll cover how your teams will be able to streamline workflows across platforms, leveraging AI. It's not just about unlocking productivity, but actually driving business outcome for teams like analysts and legal organizations. You'll learn how to reduce your dependency on Microsoft, improve TCO, and drive real business value. And finally, you'll develop an understanding of the support that's available in helping you navigate and implement change across your organization. You do not have to do this alone. Google has a very proven blueprint to help you every step of the way. And now I'm very excited to hand it over to Luke.
Thanks so much for the introduction, Pat. So I want to jump in here and talk about the 3 critical steps that it takes to fully adopt Google Workspace. So of course, first of all, you need to migrate over all of your data and business processes onto the platform. But then we know that once you're on Workspace, you also need to change your way of working. You need to redirect your users to all of our tools over whatever the legacy platform you are using is. And then the third piece that we really want to talk about today is redirecting your entire ecosystem, your customers, your partners, your critical third parties. All of them also need to adapt to the new way of working so that you can actually take full advantage of Workspace and not constantly get pushed back to your legacy platform. So for the first step, we're incredibly excited to announce that we're launching a cloud-native, fully free migration tool that's going to enable you to move to Workspace in a matter of days rather than a matter of months. That's going to start with our new deal assisting capabilities that'll help you fully scope out the migration so that you completely understand what the journey is going to look like end to end before you press the first button. And then we're also launching on top of that capabilities that'll cover the entire suite so that your emails, your files, your chat spaces, everything that you were using before is going to keep working exactly the same way when you enable Workspace after the migration. And then we understand that on top of that, once you've moved your data over, you need to fully replace your legacy tools with Workspace. And we know that the hardest ones to change historically have been the Microsoft Office suite. And so that's why we're zeroing in on these key personas that we know have historically struggled to move to the Google Docs editors. And we're trying to make it as seamless as possible for these teams to switch over from day one. Whether that is meeting the performance and scale capabilities that all of your users expect, or meeting the industry and role specific needs of your financial analysts, your lawyers, your marketers and consultants. Our plan is to go area by area and ensure that we're not taking a old 51% strategy, that we are actually targeting for these personas 100% completion of all of their critical job functions so that across your entire business, we can remove 80% of the existing licenses that you have that are continuing to work in the legacy way because you're not able to fully adopt Google Docs today. And we understand that there are key gaps that exist today that keep you working on the legacy platforms. And so that's why we're targeting them systematically, use case by use case, and also thinking about the end-to-end user journeys from when your users receive an Office file from someone they're working with externally to making the changes that they need to make, whether that is updating a financial model in Sheets, whether it is augmenting a presentation in Slides, or redlining a contract in Docs. We want to make all of those capabilities possible, including any third-party platforms that you rely on, your Oracle, your SAP, your Workday, whatever it is, we want to ensure that the Office content on that platform, you're able to seamlessly bring into Workspace, and whatever changes you make are reflected back on the system of record, because we know that's the only way that you can fully replace your way of working on Workspace. And this will include not only foundational feature replacement, because we know that it's not enough to simply replicate your existing way of working. The reason that you come to Workspace is to transform the way you work. And so that's why we're thinking through persona by persona. What are the AI first ways that we can innovate on existing business processes to make them strictly more seamless on Workspace so that your users aren't just able to adopt Workspace, they're actually excited to adopt Workspace. And so now I'm going to take you through some of the specifics for each of these 5 areas, but I want to clarify up front that I'm going to be giving you highlights. It's not a complete roadmap. So if there's anything that you expect but you don't hear about from me, please ask those questions at the end, because we want to make sure that you understand how expansively we're looking at this area. So first up, your foundational dependencies. These are the key requirements across all of our editors that we know your users expect in order to fully be able to adopt Workspace. Of course, that includes performance, scale, latency, making sure that with data getting ever larger, ever higher resolution, ever more complicated, that our editors match the performance and scale that your users expect. We also want to make sure that the most critical junction, Gmail, where you get most of this Office content inbound from your partners, your customers, your regulators, that entry point is fully served so that your users aren't downloading content and redirecting themselves to the old way of working, that they actually have a better experience on Gmail and Docs together so that they can open that content up, work with it, send it back right away to whoever sent it to them, and keep working just like they're used to. We're also ensuring that all types of advanced content are covered, whether that's Microsoft information protection labels, ensuring that those are interoperable between Workspace and Microsoft platforms, but also that we're servicing things like encrypted content to ensure that no matter who you're working with, no matter what your security and compliance posture is, you're able to fully adopt Workspace. And that includes what you may have seen where we recently launched password protected file support for all three of the Office file types. By the end of the year, we're going to make it possible to not only receive and edit password protected content, but also add that password back on the way out if that's the way that your collaborators are expecting to receive content. The goal for all of these areas is make sure that all of the content that you need is fully interoperable for import, editing, and export again. So to give you a little bit of a sneak peek of what we're expecting for this Gmail experience to be, today you probably see the static rendering of an Office file, and so often your users feel encouraged to just download that content and open it back up in Office. What we're trying to solve here is making it extra seamless to actually interact with the content directly from the email thread, throwing in some goodies to ensure that revision management as you do file editing and collaboration on an email chain, that all of that is actually easier on the Workspace platform than it is on going back to your legacy tools. So it'll bring users directly into the editable experience for the first time, and they can just start making the changes they need to make and have a one-click reply to ensure that they're also getting that content back to their collaborators in the way that they expect. Similarly, for password protected files, we know for a long time this has been a barrier that has kept people working on Office because the people that they're working with externally send them password protected content and expect to receive password protected content back. Our goal here is that this is completely seamless on the editors and that it allows your users to work on Office content and send it back to external collaborators where ideally they don't even realize that you're working with Workspace instead of Microsoft Office. Now, to get into some of our specific personas, the analyst bundle, for example. We know that the way that analysts, especially in finance, work in Excel represents a high watermark for the complexity that Excel is capable of. And we also know that if you're going to move to Sheets, you expect that same level of complexity to be inbuilt into our editors. And so that's exactly what we're working on here. We want to ensure an enhanced performance for the size of data that users are encountering today, meaning that we're going to improve latency, availability, the editing experience for ever larger sheets, but also that we're going to offer specific analytical features, things like enhanced pivot tables, charts, filtering, sorting, all of the capabilities that your users rely on today, we intend to match in Sheets. That also includes more robust functions and formulas, as well as an advanced analytical toolkit that'll include things like what-if analysis, sensitivity analysis, modeling, and the various statistical packages that your users rely on today. We're really excited to innovate on how those work in Sheets. On top of that, we're going to be offering some enhanced change management experiences, like our automated macro converter, which is going to leverage Gemini to automatically convert Visual Basic scripts or XLSM files upon import so that your users don't actually need to know how to code or know how to use AppScript. They're just going to be able to continue to rely on the functions that they do today with one click when they open the experience in Google Sheets. So for example, on that enhanced performance and scale, we've already announced at 20 million cells alpha. This is a doubling of the capability of Google Sheets today. And if you're interested, please let us know at the end of the presentation. We'd love to enroll you in the experience so you can kick the tires on it. And like I was just mentioning, the macro converter is an alpha that we're going to be very excited to announce at Cloud Next in April. This is going to leverage the capabilities of Gemini so that no matter how complex the scripts that your users rely on today are, and even if your users, as is so often the case, don't actually know how those scripts work anymore, there's something they've inherited from an old colleague or they've been using for years, We're going to use Gemini to just seamlessly convert those to AppScript. So not only can they keep relying on the business processes that they already use, they can actually bring those over to the new way of working and ideally get some additional value that they didn't have on their old platform with the combination of Google Sheets and Google AppScript. Now I'm going to give you a quick deep dive on the presentation bundle. We know that it's essential for certain functions, whether they're executives or consultants, to have pixel perfect presentations that they receive from external users as PowerPoint files. And we know that so often those presentations include audio or visual content like embedded images or embedded videos. We want to ensure that whether those presentations start externally or there's something that you create in slides, that you have full confidence that you can download those as PowerPoint files, send them back using our Gmail experience, receive them from external using our Gmail experience, and that you can continue to collaborate without ever needing to switch back to legacy tools. This will also include higher resolution for those embedded images and videos so that we match the capabilities that the industry expects and that your users never have any fear about editing presentations and slides rather than using their legacy tools. So for the last persona-specific bundle, I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're enabling for our legal users. But I want to start by saying a lot of the fundamentals of what makes it possible for a lawyer to rely on Docs rather than Word are also things that are going to benefit other personas across your business. For example, engineers use very similar formatting and structure capabilities. What we're talking about are complex, specific, and very precise documents that you're now going to be able to edit directly with Google Docs rather than needing to rely on Microsoft Word. This includes things like captions, cross-references, inter-doc linking, complicated features that either make up the basis of a contract or an engineering specification. And on top of that, we want to enable the full complexity of the redlining experience that lawyers expect to do in Microsoft Word today. That's accepting or editing track changes, that's commenting and working with external. We want to ensure that all of this is bundled into the Docs format so that you can download the file as a Microsoft Word file, send it back to your external counsel or whatever entity you're negotiating with, and that your lawyers will have the confidence that all of their suggested or accepted changes are reflected perfectly in the document. And so they never have to open Microsoft Word themselves. They can continue to rely on Docs. So like I mentioned, a lot of these foundational capabilities like captions and cross-references are things that all of your users can rely on. Whether they're lawyers or not, these are going to be core capabilities in the Google Docs experience. What we're layering on top of it is not just the native support in our editors, but also those full round-trip capabilities. So when you're working with this type of content, you have the confidence that you can work with externals sending and receiving Microsoft Word files, and that you never need to double check the document because you know it's going to be exactly as you see it when your collaborators open it up in Microsoft Word. And for lawyers, that'll include things like I was saying before, track changes and commenting, which are essential to the negotiation process on any contract. And we want to ensure the same thing for your legal department, that any contract they receive from external, they can just open it up in Docs, make all of the suggestions and modifications that they need to, and send it back to the party that originated it in the Microsoft Word format. So last up, our ecosystems and integration section. We're very excited to announce 3 of our latest third-party integrations, Oracle, ServiceNow, and Workday. For all of these, you're able to use Google Sheets to work in the same way that you may have been used to in Excel, where you open up tabular content, say from Oracle or Workday. You're able to directly make edits and know that all of those edits are reflected back in the system of record as your source of truth. Now, we're not stopping there. We have 4 more integrations that we're incredibly excited to be working on with Viva, SAP, Epic, and Litera. If you're interested in those, we're going to have more information on their availability at Cloud Next in April. So just to summarize, because I only gave you the quick hits on each of the bundles, we are looking to help you achieve an 80% reduction in your existing use of Microsoft Office across your enterprise. And that includes, like I said before, for each of those three personas, going through and ensuring that full end-to-end user journeys are possible, because we realize that unless we service 100% of the needs of a user, they're not actually going to be able to switch platforms. And so that's why we're laser focused on, from reception of the content to return of it, making sure that every step along the way is pixel perfect in the Google Docs editors. And just to give you a sense of the breadth of the roadmap, you're going to be seeing every quarter new releases related to these capabilities. And we're very excited to have you test them out in alpha and beta when they're ready. All right, I know that was a ton of information, so we want to give you a chance to prep some questions. I actually have Andrew Harpin here from our team, who's the product manager who owns all of the capabilities you saw today. So if there was something on the roadmap that you want to dig in a little bit deeper on, understand how you might be able to leverage it, he's the right person to help explain that for you. Or, like I mentioned before, these were just the top highlights. These are the quick hits. If there's something that you're curious about that you didn't see today, please put that in the chat and ask. We'd love to talk about not only what we've shown you so far, but also where we intend to take this, because this is a very long-term and deep commitment for us. Now, also, we don't want the conversation to end here. All of the account managers, your customer engineers, these folks are fully briefed on and trained on this roadmap. And so if you want to start thinking about how you can specifically apply this at your enterprise, how these capabilities might be able to specifically help you reduce your legacy license spend, transform the way you work, please engage those folks in the conversation. They're very excited to help you get up and running on all these new capabilities and enrolled in any alphas or betas that you're interested in for what you saw today. And then third, on top of that, we're going to be having a fully dedicated migration and interop session at Cloud Next. I'm going to be running it with Ashish. And so if you happen to be in Vegas for those days, please come to the session. You'll not only see what we talked about today, but also some additional capabilities that we're not ready to announce yet, but we think you're going to find pretty transformational. Plus, I'm going to be there face-to-face at the end of the talk. You can always come over and we can have a discussion live if there's anything that you can't think of today, but that maybe you want to follow up with after the presentation. So, all right, I know that was a ton of information, super detailed. Thank you for sticking with us. And now we're excited to take your questions.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Pat McCarthy. I am a vice president for Agentic Workplace Transformation, and I'm very pleased to be joined by Luke Camry, director of product management for Google Workspace. Today's session is going to give you a private preview of our roadmap for organizations that rely on both Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace. The friction between these platforms can lead to significant inefficiencies and costs. So over the next 30 minutes, Luke is going to give you a glimpse into our product roadmap, which is designed to directly address these pain points. After this, we'll open it up for 25 minutes of Q&A, and we'll do our best during that session to answer everything live in the session, but also note, we'll be hosting a breakout session specific to this topic at Google Next in April. And if you're joining us at Next, I'd encourage you to attend that session and continue the conversation with our product experts and your peers. Please note that this presentation is designed for a small exclusive group and is delivered under NDA. This is considered a private preview, so don't share this information beyond this forum. Before I pass it to Luke, I'll spend a few minutes on the key highlights I hope you'll take away from today. We'll cover how your teams will be able to streamline workflows across platforms, leveraging AI. It's not just about unlocking productivity, but actually driving business outcome for teams like analysts and legal organizations. You'll learn how to reduce your dependency on Microsoft, improve TCO, and drive real business value. And finally, you'll develop an understanding of the support that's available in helping you navigate and implement change across your organization. You do not have to do this alone. Google has a very proven blueprint to help you every step of the way. Now I'm very excited to hand it over to Luke.
Thanks so much for the introduction, Pat. So I want to jump in here and talk about the 3 critical steps that it takes to fully adopt Google Workspace. So of course, first of all, you need to migrate over all of your data and business processes onto the platform. But then we know that once you're on Workspace, you also need to change your way of working. You need to redirect your users to all of our tools over whatever the legacy platform you are using is. And then the third piece that we really want to talk about today is redirecting your entire ecosystem, your customers, your partners, your critical third parties. All of them also need to adapt to the new way of working so that you can actually take full advantage of Workspace and not constantly get pushed back to your legacy platform. So for the first step,